Sponsor a child from the Dogon villages today. They are the future healers, leaders and preservers of Kemetic traditions. Just like Prophet NABA, these children of the Earth Center and our network of healers are being educated in local schools in addition to their indigenous cultural practices and traditions. This comprehensive education both positions them to inherit the work of their forefathers and mothers and continues bridging the gap between traditional and modern societies. So go ahead, support, find out more about our campaigns and donate by going to www.theearthcenter.org. Thank you. Ujjayi, and welcome to the Wisdom of the Nile show. We'll see if this okay, my name is Katasta Fahkara.
And I am Jodian.
And we say give thanks for being here, dua for being here another week, another decan as by our calendar. Before I go any further, I want to acknowledge the world of the divine, and we want to acknowledge our ancestors, those whose shoulders on which we stand. We want to acknowledge Nebnaba Lamusa Moro Denibeg and those who have kept the teachings, the culture, the initiation until such time that we can have the chance to share. Dua. Okay, so we are in our Kemetic calendar, we are at Kepkan 20, which is 420, which is the year, Kepkan, and we are, though you'd call it Wednesday today, Zuzunut, I would say. We're the 12th, so May the 19th. Now we are in our second decan, because each year equivalent to a week is 10 days, so we're in our second decan of our month Kepkan, and the deity that rules this month is Het Heru. And Heteru is the universal goddess and is connected with healing and childbirth. She determines the destiny of a child at birth. Heteru is a warrior goddess and is represented as a woman with bull horns on her head with a solar disc between them. She's worshipped on earth as the holy white cow. She's the wife of Heru. And if you know about Heru, Heru is the son, the child of Wusa and Aishat, other known as Osiris and Isis. And he is known as Horus, that's right. And those born under this month, your sacred animal is monkey, bull, all cows, the vulture, the catfish, and the sacred bull. So those born under this month is forbidden to consume or kill any of these animals. So this is a shout out for those who are born under this month, the month of Kepkan. It actually starts in the Gregorian calendar Saturday the 8th of May, and in the Gregorian calendar it will finish June the 6th. So if any of you want to know more about our calendar, we will be giving out details so that you can get a hold of our calendars and some of the other Earth Centre material to know a bit more about ancient African civilization in our calendar. So, but before we go any further into our show today, we are going to just have a look at what has been happening in our local community. You know, we know things are happening all over, but I think one story that has been coming up in our local community, but it's not just local, actually we've been hearing that these things have been happening over the States and that they seem to be happening. So Jodie, if you want to tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so yesterday there was a 10-year-old boy that was abducted on his way to school, and he was found today. So what happened was that he was taken to a house of other children. He said he was given a pill to make him drowsy, and he managed to escape and go to school. And he was met by his teachers and the police. They've also online, they've actually issued out an image of the van that's been abducting children in Enfield basically, and given the license plate of that van as well.
Yeah, I don't know if it's there is a white van. I don't know if it's the same one connected to this child, because I think the white van that was there, a mother was with her child, but they didn't realize she's with him, and they tried to abduct the child, and it was the mother who took the picture of the van. But with this, I mean, prior to this young boy, there has been several weeks of parents putting up on the WhatsApp group pictures of their missing children. And I think the feeling is, you know, maybe amongst the police or the community at large, that these children may have gone onto county lines. Now, for those who may be listening internationally and don't know what the county lines are, there are young children, young teenagers who are leaving London, because we are in London, and going out into the country, and they are either being coerced into, or they are leaving off their own accord, going into the country and basically selling drugs. But mothers have been saying, no, our children are disappearing. These aren't children who would normally, do that. And I mean, this boy was 10 and there were other children. So this has been happening for a series of weeks. It's just that this young boy, and we give thanks for that, was able to escape. He was quick-witted enough. I don't know if he maybe put the drugs under his tongue, the pill, because what they did when they kidnapped them, they forced them to take a pill which made them drowsy. Now, talk is in the community that it might be the organs that they're selling them for, it might be county lines, or it might be paedophilia. But whichever one it is, this should be national news. And it's not, as far as I know.
Interestingly, when I was doing some research for the show and on this story, it was posted on a national newspaper yesterday, and today when I went to go and check it again, it had been removed. So it's kind of like, it's not being, I guess I want to say, like, being shown nationally.
I mean,
news outlets, yeah.
a 10-year-old boy has been abducted. Now, it's not just one 10-year-old. That means there's serial kidnappers out there. That's national news. Yeah. This boy was on his way to school at 8 a.m. in the morning. Shouldn't every mother be aware of that?
And it was only a mile from the school as well. It wasn't even that far that he had to walk to.
But 8 o'clock in the morning. So you send your child to school, and the last thing you expect. Now, my question is, if it was a little English boy, would we have heard more about this 10-year-old who had been abducted on his way to school?
Yes.
Yes, we would have. And this is a kind of inequality that needs to stop. It needs to stop. That is somebody's child, and that's not just one child. There's been several children that's been happening. That's the problem.
Yeah. Since the start of the lockdown, online there's been posts of children being missing.
This needs to stop.
Every single week.
It needs to stop.
Yeah, I agree.
And of course, those people who have taken those children need to be put away for some time. So, as a mother. As a sister, as an auntie, as a concerned person in the community, and it wouldn't matter what color the child was, it shouldn't happen. But the fact that it's children of color has been repeatedly kidnapped, and it hasn't been said. That is very concerning. So we give thanks that this young boy has been, is safe and sound, but there are the others.
Yeah.
And those children need to be found. So, yeah, we hope that this is going to be taken seriously, and that these children be found and the perpetrators be put in jail. So, had to get that one out, you know. Yeah, that needs to stop. Had to get that one out. But apart from that, you know, in terms of what's happening in the news, I mean, more of the same. We're not going to talk about that. I think we're tired of talking about the other one, right? Right?
Yeah.
So we're not going to talk about that one that everybody can see. Although we're supposed to be coming to the lockdown, but because of this Indian variant, they're saying, well, maybe
not.
Maybe, but maybe not. We might let you out, but we might not.
We'll see what
We
happens.
might not let you out.
Let's play it by ear. Okay.
Maybe. And it was really interesting. I caught a little bit of a show, and this man used to work in prisons, and he was saying it's really interesting because the term lockdown is what they use in prison when it's time to lock the prison down. And he said he finds it very interesting now that the world, countries and in the world are now in lockdown, a terminology that comes out of prison. And they don't want to lock us, they don't want to release us from lockdown because there's now a variant. There's this Indian variant. No, hold on a minute. Can you believe that there are how many billions of people on the planet, and someone has the power to say to almost everyone,
you can't come outside. You can't play out.
I mean, you have to take bad thing, McLove. That's what we would say back home. Everyone, you want to tell you know, sister, this thing gone too far. You know, it gone too far. You know, a friend of mine's in Ghana, and you know, saying, well, how's things, you know? Nobody don't even take no notice of these people and what they have to say. They're not even taking any notice. And you know, and it seems like in quite a few African countries they're not. They said there might be a few who are very westernized, and they are, you know, oh yes, we want to take the vaccine, but the majority of people, they're just getting on with their life.
Yeah.
They're just like, but it's really strange that in, you know, countries, and I think UK is one of the most locked down countries.
Still,
I mean,
yeah.
you can't go to, we said we weren't going to talk about it, but how can you not? And then we're going to finish. You know, you still can't travel out, you can't travel in.
Unless you have
under restriction.
Yeah.
Okay.
But some people can.
You can.
For a reason.
Yeah, no, you can if you're on business. Business people can. That's the truth. If you're on business, you can go.
Yeah.
Interesting. You see, if you're a business person, maybe you won't catch corona. Corona won't come to visit you, and you won't catch the Indian variant because you're going on a business trip. Oh, what can he say? You know, what's going on here? You know, we have to take batting, make love. But we give thanks for another day. We give thanks for life, and we know that, you know, the divine order has everything in its hands, you know. So this week's show, let's talk about this week's show. So this week's show, we are going to be looking at
10 requirements of being a chem.
The 10 requirements of being a chem. Now, for those who are not in the initiation, they'll be like, well, what's that? Yeah. So we have, within the tradition, there are so many things that we have the honor and pleasure of being a part of and having. But one of these things are the 10 requirements of a chem. So, you know, we're going to be talking about different aspects and different requirements. So, yes, the 10 requirements of being a chem. So we're going to go through them today, and we will be sharing our knowledge with you from the Kemetic teachings, and especially at this time we are having to fight through and get through all the mist and the confusion and all everything that's out there planned to throw us off, you know. But keep your focus, you know, and you will get through on the other end.
Courage to fight the fight. I know they might try to conquer I, Lord. Guide I by day and watch I by night, Lord. I pray you'll restore your people's sight, Lord. So give I courage to fight the fight. Oh, say fight the fight. I know they might try to conquer I, Lord. Conquer I. Guide I by day and watch I by night, Lord. I know you'll restore your people's sight, Lord. I'm on crying for peace and justice. I'm on rather to die than to live. I see your oppressors sitting on their thrones, trying to dictate the price of my soul. Oh, Jah give I courage to fight the fight. Oh, say fight the fight. I know they might try to conquer I. Conquer I. Oh, night I by day and watch I by night. By day, oh, by night. I pray you'll restore your people's sight. Don't die, don't die. Through soul and conscience, fire burns, fire burns, fire burns. Light inspires change. I won't fall victim. Jah give I courage to fight the fight. Oh, say fight the fight. I know they might try to conquer I. They try. Oh, God, I by day and watch I by night. I pray you'll restore your people's sight. Naughty got to be firm and strong in this time of hatred and greed. Selfishness at its highest job, but my soul will never be so. Jealous, stronger than any weapon, bad intention and scheme. But the bad dead with us, love for self and don't know what to proceed.
Yes, that's our brother Mortimer. Fight. The fight. Overcome all of this madness that's going on around us, But we give thanks for the solid ground that the initiation gives us, that our ancient teachings and ancient wisdom has been able to lay the foundation for us, that, in the midst of, this sea of, I'm going to use the word illusion, and all the stuff that's going on, we have a solid ground to stand on, and we have that far eye, that ability to see, what's happening. So, Jody, you are going to give us a reading, if you let us know what the title is and which magazine we're reading from.
Sure. The title of this article is called Life of a Chem, and it's by Cassavers Markma. And the article is from the Rise and Firefly volume 75, which you can purchase from the earthcenter.org. Patience and time do more than strengthen rage. This ancient wisdom embodies the response of many indigenous cultures to the onslaught of the modern political and religious ideologies that have swept the world for over 2,000 years. And so, generations have come and gone, and the stewards of indigenous wisdom have watched and waited as those who were eager to prove their superiority and their ability to lead the world have instead proven their ineptitude. As the people of the world have cried under the weight of the oppression and genocide, patience has been the response. Not because the suffering of humanity and the destruction of nature is not significant, but because the survival of human wisdom and genius is paramount. If a donkey kicks you, what will you do? Kick it back? You will be the one seen kicking a donkey. As the leaders of the modern world boast the superiority of their governments, sciences, religion, etc., indigenous leaders have smiled humbly while keeping the wisdom of their culture secret. Kemetic wisdom teaches that evil is the most powerful force. If you succeed in killing the devil, you just prove that you're worse than him. So who is the devil? There can be no victory for the forces of good if the good must resort to the tactics of evil to achieve victory. Our elders, priests, and kings have maintained their patience as the appropriate time to fight back had not yet arrived. The Kemetic holy drama teaches that the forces of evil and destruction are represented by the god Seth, while the forces of good and preservation are represented by the god Heru. Heru and Seth are locked in an eternal duel in which Heru seems to be outmatched in every way. Heru represents every human being, and like every human being, he is born into a world where the forces of evil has prepared for his arrival and laid all sorts of traps with the intention of destroying him or recruiting him to join their ranks. Heru is vulnerable against a foe that is both immortal and invincible, while also being a master of disguise and deception. Against all these disadvantages, Heru has one advantage to level to battlefield: the ability to resurrect. In a time when the forces of evil seem to hold every advantage, the people of the world desperately seek some relief. For hundreds of years, we have turned to our oppressors for protection, education, medicine, spirituality, and even justice. All this time, seeing no alternative than to submit to the force that has dominated our parents and ancestors, we have continued to serve them. We have even learned to take pride in our achievements within their religious, political, educational, and business institutions that have always been symbols of our enslavement. It would seem that, after killing Heru's father, Seth has succeeded in convincing Heru that he is now better off. How many of us have now turned our backs on the wisdom of our ancient forefathers to serve the ones who destroyed them? Good must resurrect within humanity. Human beings must see ourselves as a resurrection of good in the world instead of making excuses for being less than our best. However, this requires that we understand what good is. If the ones now destroying the world have convinced themselves that they are serving some greater good, we must not take for granted that we know what good is. Humans must be taught the knowledge of good and evil, or else how will we know? It is in this context that the authorities of ancient spiritual knowledge in West Africa gave their permission for Prophet NABA Lamusa Modenebig to travel to the United States and open the Earth Center and the School of Kemetic Philosophy and Spirituality. The work of Prophet NABA has given humanity a bridge to return to our original and most advanced traditions, Kemet, ancient Egypt and traditional Africa, humanity's first global civilization. Prophet NABA has reintroduced the culture of the Kem. A Kem is a Kemetic person. It must be understood that being a Kem is not the result of one's place of birth, nor the ethnicity or nationality of one's parents, nor a pledge of allegiance to a particular group, but the adherence to the Kemetic principles, the requirements of being a Kem. It is by living according to these principles that humanity spent most of the last 100,000 years preserving the world. When the leaders of this modern world, meaning the Greco-Roman empires and their heirs in the Vatican, began their reign, they saw before them a world in good condition. The air, water, and earth was clean. Human cultures were humble and civil towards each other. Humans functioned in harmony with nature and gods. Amazing natural and man-made wonders could be found throughout the world. In the past 500 years, all this has been turned to ruin. Poisoned waterways, polluted air and soil, Frankenstein plants and animals, abandoned temples and monuments. What has the modern system brought us as an advancement that is not also linked to the destruction of the world? The temples of Kemet have been made accessible once again because the time is right. We now have the opportunity to change the direction humanity is headed. Let's keep in mind that all the strategies we've used until now have not worked. We only seem to be succeeding in digging ourselves deeper into a hole that will ultimately serve as our mass grave. However, considering the nature of the problems we are now facing, many seem skeptical that a solution can come from what is now considered antiquated. Ironically, if we knew what the solution should be, maybe we should have found it. Maybe we would have found it long ago. Patience and time do more than strengthen rage. We seem to be desperate for something or someone to fix our problems right away. We think our anger and passion in response to injustice and destruction will fuel us to victory. The reality is, there is no magic pill that will cure humanity of our collective disease. We all want safety, stability, justice, good health, positivity, etc. We want our society to provide these things for us, but our society is made up of humans, which means actually, we have to provide them for ourselves and each other. If we want all that we can be considered good in humanity, but we aren't producing it now, apparently we will have to learn how to do that before it will be possible. This is why Prophet NABA put education as his focus. We will have to be taught how to be good, how to preserve life, etc. This is what the requirements of the Kem are for. A human being needs guiding principles in life. If not, we can be led in any direction, as we can clearly see today. To become a Kem, one must make a commitment to be good based on Kemetic principles. Moreover, one must build the strength of character to maintain the goodness no matter what challenges, adversity or suffering one must endure. There are 10 requirements for being a Kem. Number 1. Acknowledge, honor and validate the divine world. 2. Acknowledge, honor and validate the world of the dead. 3. Maintain the purity of the body, mind and spirit. 4. Apply the 77 commandments. 5. Perform the daily spiritual activities. 6. Listen, accept and follow the word of the gods. 7. all Kem people protect, honor, and respect each other. 8. It is an absolute obligation for a Kem to perform charitable acts towards Kem people. 9. Provide an annual offering to a temple. And 10. Go on an annual pilgrimage to MEZNEBSATI. These requirements impose on the Kem a lifetime of rigors, but it is these very challenges that force us to evolve into better, more capable human beings. To support any human being seeking to be a part of the resurrection of good within humanity, the Earth Center has provided additional guidance for those who wish to become Kem but aren't yet able to join the time initiation. Visit theearthcenter.org/ChemLife.
Okay, and can you remind us the title of the article and which magazine that one is from?
Yeah, so the title of the article is Life of a Kem, and it's from volume 75 of the Rising Firefly.
Okay, and we'll be right back with you after this track.
It's just a grow and the bliss just a show and a humble me more and more. The more that I learn, show the little that I know, and it humble me more and more. The truth set me free and encourages me as it humble me more and more. Humble me more and more. There is so much to fear, they say, so many unknowns. There are those who would scorch the face of the earth in a selfish game of thrones. Some have learnt of the mysteries and are forcing the world to comply. But give thanks, the source of the sacred is encoded in I. When I tune into the frequency, none of the stains of adversity distract from the real I know. And the power I'm connected to, yes, it just a humble me more and more. The heights just a grow and the bliss just a show and a humble me more and more. The more that I learn, through the little that I know, and it humble me more and more. The truth set me free and encourages me as it humble me more and more. Humble me more and more. Distract from the real I know. Of the power I'm connected to, yes, it just a humble me more and more. The heights just a grow and the bliss just a show and a humble me more and more. The more that I learn, show the little that I know, and it humble me more and more. The truth set me free and encourages me as it humble me more and more. Humble me more. I used to be so sure of things, then life began to change. The world becomes a smaller place, an overcrowded stage. Ambition is the overkill, but I am not its slave. So I take away to take a breath and peace just a grow and the bliss just a show and a humble me more and more. The more that I learn through the little that I know, and it humble me more and more. The truth set me free and encourages me as it humble me more and more. Humble me more and more.
Humility, humble me more and more. Sister Janine. Adore Jody for the reading before Sister Janine came up to bless us with her soulful voice. So, as Jody read about the life of a Ken, she read out the 10 requirements of a chem, and so now we are going to go through the 10 requirements of a chem and really look in what they are and what it means to us. And if you want to get interactive on the program, you can call 079-444-31366. That's 079-444-31366. Okay, so the first requirement of being a chem is acknowledge, honor, and validate the divine world. That's our number one. Now, why would that be number one? So we're going to look into them a little bit more. Why would this be our number one? Well, the first thing I would say is that naturally we do see the non-physical or the spiritual world as the first world. That is the world from which this physical world in which we reside manifests from. If we even look at our physical body, many of us become so attached to the physical body that we believe that we are the physical body, instead of understanding that there is a non-physical force. Some people call spirit, some people call soul, life force, prana, whatever name you want to give this non-physical aspect, but it's that non-physical that invigorates the body. Hence you see it moving and it has a warmth and it talks, but it is that non-physical, and we know that that's true because when someone expires, something non-physical leaves the physical and you still see the physical body. So we know that there is a non-physical essence that allows the physical to live. And for those of us in the spiritual who acknowledge the spiritual world, acknowledge that side and give it its due respect, just like you would if someone has a title, you know, whatever title, doctor, king, queen, whatever, you would pay respect to that title, that person with the title in the physical world. Well, we honor and recognize the hierarchy of divinities in the non-physical. And the article that Jody read out mentioned a couple of the deities within the Kemetic teachings that we recognize, you know. So you mentioned Aishat, you mentioned Heru. We know that Set is the uncle of Heru and the brother of Wusa, who kills his brother. But we acknowledge that there are non-physical aspects that play a part in mankind's becoming. And also in the article, you know, she made reference to the fact that when we are born, we're born in the home of or under the auspices of the one who killed our spiritual father. That when we are born on this earth, there are things that happened before we came here. You know, we came here and found this earth here. You know, we didn't build this. You know, and so those of us who acknowledge the spiritual realm, you know, acknowledge that which manifested this physical realm. Jody, would you like to share anything on number 1 of the 10 requirements of a Ken?
Yeah, in terms of acknowledging, honoring and validating the divine world, we understand that before the 19th day on the 19th day, that ancestors asked the gods, you know, what the gods asked our ancestors, I guess, what is your agenda? And they said, we want to be like you. Our ancestors understood that being the divine was the highest, and our goal is to emulate that world. So everything that our ancestors did was to be like the divine world. And now that we're going back into the traditions, we're having to look at that as our model instead of what's out here today. And
mankind, you know, they say the human brain doesn't invent. So when humanity saw the world of the divine, what more? I mean, when we look at
there's nothing else that they could.
What more can there be?
Yeah.
And when we look at the civilizations of ancient Kemet, and we know that they acknowledged the world. Everything was about the gods. You see over their temples, and the people who acknowledged and lived by these divine entities were able to build monuments that literally looked like they were built by and for the gods. The temples that they built were beyond what a simple human being would need to be in. It was built for the gods. And to this date, we have not seen monuments as splendorful as those and as awe-inspiring. And still, you know, actually just here I saw a thing of Lalibela. You know, I know that's within the Christian faith. Again, it was to the gods. But where one's aspiration is towards the world of divine, human beings were able to manifest such great manifestations, such great things. So we understand that that's the first world, you know, that the non-physical world. And again, even in the world of the science, you know, if we take it to the extreme, so we're looking at Ra and the greatness of the divine world. But there is also Tem. We have a deity called Tem, who is so tiny, the smallest thing, the atom. And again, we know within the field of science and in looking at the tiniest, when you go into the atom and then you go down to the quarks and you go beyond that, they recognize that at the minutest level of existence, there has to be, and those scientists work these things out by mathematical equations because they can't see it, but they understand that there has to be a non-physical world that parallels the physical world. So when we're talking about divine world, we acknowledge it on all levels, because naturally it would have to be from the smallest to the greatest. And so no matter how far mankind tries to go around it and through it or over it, he can't, because mankind was created. He's a part of the creation. So we not only honor and validate the divine world, but as Jody spoke about the 19th day of Tahuti, and for those who don't know about the 19th day of Tahuti, as we listen to the radio shows more and more, and if you go onto the Earth Center's website, you will find out more about the 19th day of Tahuti. But as you said, it was the day when, in the Kemetic tradition, when the world of the gods opened up and humanity, our ancestors, saw the world of the divine and made a decision, the vow, that we would follow the world of the divine. So we have a special day within the year, the 19th day of Tahuti, where we acknowledge that day. So that's number 1 of the 10 requirements of a Kem: to validate, to acknowledge the divine and validate the divine world. So it's acknowledge, honor, and validate the divine world. And hence, in the honoring, why on Sunday, for example, we had our ancestral holy day, divine holy day.
Yeah.
And that's because there's a day in every decan. So at the beginning we told you we have 10 days, and there's a day in every decan. One is the ancestral, which is why you heard me say ancestral, but actually Sunday was the divine holy day, where we came together. Some of us were at the temple and some were online, and we every 10 days acknowledge. So we honor and acknowledge the divine world in all that we do, but there is a special day when we honor the divine world. So that's our number 1. Number 2, acknowledge, honor and validate the world of the dead. This is where our ancestors come in. Jody, would you like to share some?
Yes, I actually have a little thing I want to read about the ancestors before I go on. So, it must first be understood that the ancestors are the intermediary between the human being and the gods. As we mentioned before, gods do not deal directly with humans. The dimension in which the ancestors exist are much more favorable than what the human beings on earth can perceive. This is how vital the ancestral spirit is to humanity. Another important aspect that must be understood is that the fact that just because a relative dies, that does not make him or her an ancestor. At that point, they are just a dead relative. Only under the condition that we raise them to the level of an ancestor can he or she do the work we require of him or her. We can raise dead relatives to the level of ancestors through a series of ceremonies consisting of various offerings. The most common are food offerings. To give a small example of how it works, imagine you are in a strange, desolate place all by yourself and you are very hungry, cold and tired. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a person appears and walks towards you with a package in his hands. While you are still trying to make sense of it all, that person hands you the package and tells you it is a gift from your son or your grandson or your great-grandson. You then open the package, and to your delight, there is a nice hot meal inside you for you to eat. After receiving the nourishment you so desperately needed, and because you are so pleased that one of your descendants cared enough about you to make sure you were well fed and taken care of, you then look for ways to make the life of that descendant more pleasant as a show of appreciation, by negotiating directly with the gods to allow the wishes of that descendant to manifest in the course of his life. So I just wanted to add to that the importance of ancestors, really, because I think those that aren't really initiation don't really understand the importance of it or the role of an ancestor, in the sense that we need them in everything that we do. And for myself, prior to initiation, I didn't quite understand the role of that. And now that I'm in initiation, my life has changed so much because I've honored my ancestors, and I know that they look out for me because I look out for them. And I think that if more people understood that, they will be more, I guess, enthused to look after their ancestors. I think also that as a lot of people, they think that once you die, that's it. But there is a massive importance in looking after or acknowledging and validating, honouring the world of the dead, to make sure that they're okay, so that we can benefit from that and vice versa.
Yeah, dwell for that reading. And thing is, we see the honouring and the acknowledging and the validation of the world of the dead in all the cultures around us. Whether we are aware of it or not, they rejoice in their dead. They rejoice in those that have passed on. And as you read, within the culture, within tradition, just because you die doesn't necessarily make you an ancestor, because an ancestor is someone who's been raised up to that level, who had that quality and is raised up. There is someone on this side who does the necessary work to help to raise, to acknowledge and raise and validate those who went before them, because just as we said in the divine, we acknowledge that which we cannot see, and those who have transitioned have just gone into a world where we can no longer see the physical aspect, because that non-physical aspect has left. It's clear it's left. We don't have to ask. When a body is down, we know that the life force that was in the body has left the body. It's left and gone into a domain which is no longer physical. And so because that life force has left and gone into that non-physical domain, it doesn't mean that we forget. So if that's my grandmother who took care of me and loved me, do I not still recognize the spirit, that non-physical aspect of my grandmother? Of course I do. Why would I not? Why would I not? It's not even logical not to. And why I say we have it all around us, because anywhere we're in London, and anywhere you go in London, you will see monuments of Sir this and Prime Minister that and this person and that. They're strewn around London, and you go into any major city in any world and you will see these people. Are these people alive? No, they're dead. Why are they dead? Because they're honouring the dead. Simple. I mean, it's just not so difficult.
And interesting that you said that. There was, I think we spoke about it before, where I think it was Prince William was saying that when he's having a bad day, he will go to his great-grandfather's grave, and he will go and talk to him, and he'll feel better.
Yeah, it's not even in the grave. In St. Paul's Cathedral, I think it was St. Paul's Cathedral, is where the kings are buried. So there's certain parts in the cathedral where we can't go to, the public can't go to. But of course, members of the British royal family will have access to, and there are certain parts there where his forefathers are, and he will go to that part, and there's a particular grandfather when he's feeling a particular way, he will go and speak to that ancestor. Now I remember when I was younger and I was in Jamaica, when we used to go country, I mean, we're from the country anyway, but there were other parts in the country that when someone in the family died, they buried them in the back garden, in the backyard. And so if anything was happening and, you know, the person was like, the person who was living was uncertain, them say, go sit pan Auntie Tati grave and talk to her. They would literally send you to the go and talk to the go sit down, and then you'd sit there and then come back and you would have the answer, or Auntie Tati would dream you the night. And so it was very much a part of our culture, and you see it in Indian tradition, you see it in all traditions, but yet again, if within the African, and for those who practice traditional spirituality, they you know, they do that openly, but you have some which because of Christianity, they then call it whatever, they have terminology, so you know, I don't choose to repeat what they say. And last week, it was last week or the week before, the South African Queen died. It was a few weeks ago actually, but they were holding in South Africa and across different countries in Africa, I think they were holding an ancestor day. So she died, and then, you know, for people like Magufuli of Tanzania who died, and other African leaders who just happened to die. So what they wanted to do, what they were doing, what they did do, is hold an ancestral day where they recognized those who had transitioned. And a South African, white South African, put out a video saying that all Christians need to come together. Now, this is on South African land, and stop these people doing their black magic and their sorcery in their country. So he's saying, in my country, we need to put a stop to these people. And this is in an African country who are recognizing African people who had died, and the word out was to stop these people doing these devil worshipping in their country. So what it shows is that when African people are doing something simple as recognizing their own culture and recognizing their own, they would never ever do that in India. If Indians were having a cultural day where they were recognizing their dead, they wouldn't do it in China. They wouldn't do it anywhere else. Those are the kind of things that need to stop. African culture is the first culture, and apart from that, and I'm not even going to say tolerance, because I can't say you should tolerate somebody else's tradition, because you're on somebody else's soil.
Yeah.
You're in somebody else's country. And so, especially within the African traditions, we have this feeling, and amongst our own African people as well, because of the Christianization, that the acknowledging of our ancestors is wrong. Yet those same Christians will go to a monument of Napoleon, or they would go to a monument in it. It's so illogical.
Or they will go to other celebrations of other peoples that in other countries and think it's a festival as well.
So I not have a problem with it.
Right.
So these are the things that need to be broken down in the minds of persons for us to really see when we're being hypocritical, or when we're just not fully understanding, because we do know that the programming is so deep. You know, the programming is deep, so that you see one thing and you don't realize that, you know, you're doing it on one side and then calling it out on the other side, you know. So we do understand that there's a de-brainwashing that needs to be done across the board, you know. So acknowledging, honoring and validating the world of the dead. And so I thought you was gonna say that. So for our next ancestral holiday is actually gonna be on Saturday, May the 22nd, and that's when we honor our ancestors on that day. We honor them every day. So, you know, if you have your shrine or you have your place where, you know, your pictures of your relatives who have transitioned, you know, you can still honor them. We know in our traditions, you know, even the people who go to the bar and have a drink, they'll have a drink and they'll pour to the earth. They're recognizing the ancestors. They're recognizing the earth. It's just in them. They don't realize what they're doing some of the time. Sometimes they eat, have a little food and they just put a little side. That's for Auntie Timmy. That's for, you know, Mama Giata. You know, so you just leave some. It's just in our nature. So we always honor our ancestors, but as you were saying, Jody, one of the beautiful things is that when we came into the Earth Center, and I know that it was the same for me, really bringing that forward and really, and let me tell you, when you realize the power of your ancestors, oh man, yeah. And remember, the blood of your ancestors still run within your veins. They live within you. You are the ancestors of your children. They came after you, so you are their ancestors, even though you haven't traveled on it. But that's what's going to happen, because your blood is running through them, plus all the other blood that has been running from those that came before you is in them. Now, when you transition, would you not like your child to remember you?
Of course.
Of course you would. Of course you would. It would have been a dishonor for that child not to remember you. That's why people like the people in the aristocracy and so forth, why do you think they have the pictures of all of their ancestors up in their home going back how many centuries? They can tell you who their great. Huh? I mean, and that is a source of pride. So much a source of pride that guess what? The whole, and I'm going to speak for the UK. In other places, it's the same with those who rule. Guess what? Their family and their bloodline and their ancestors is so much a source of pride to them that guess what? They make sure that they teach you about their bloodline. So when you go to school, you learn about Queen Victoria, you learn about the Tudors, you know, who do you think these people are? They are the ancestors of the current royal family. They are teaching you about their family bloodline. So why do you not know yours? That is what we're talking about. And they get strength and power from that, and they respect it so much that they teach you about it. So why should you know about somebody else's bloodline and not your own? Does that make sense? So we honor and validate our own ancestors. You're listening to Bless Radio 07944431366 if you want to get interactive. And we are talking about the 10 requirements of a Chem, and we were at number 2, which was to acknowledge, honor and validate the world of the dead. Before we move on to 3, I don't know if there was something else you wanted to say on that one. Okay, now if we have any initiates that would like to text in and share anything, if you don't want to call in, you know, please do. Okay, so we're going to move to number 3. Maintain the purity of the body, mind, and spirit. Jody?
So I just want to share something else from another article before talking about purity. So the urgency and importance of returning to the original Kemetic source of spirituality is more serious than words can express. By doing so, one will understand that gods will have their own world, which is free of corruption and filth. Gods have their own language. Gods have their own rankings. So how does one get closer to the gods? The knowledge of the temples of the Nile and Niger valleys and the teachings of the Earth Center teaches us that being clean physically and spiritually is a key component. It is the spirit that must be purified through a process of ablution. It is important for the reader not to confuse this form of ablutions with the form that is practiced by Muslims. Although the goal of purification is the same, the ritual itself differs, being that Muslims only acknowledge one God, which in Kemetic culture would defeat the purpose of this sacred ceremony. Many worshippers of modern religions feel no shame in praying to their God while there is residue of feces still in their anus. Why would a God come close to anything of that nature? One would like to think that any God would be deserving of a better approach than that in any capacity. But unfortunately, this is one of the spiritual dilemmas we see today. The original form of ablution comes to solve this issue of spiritual dirtiness. It ensures that all parts of the body, inside and outside, are pure enough for gods to give some consideration to the human that is making the effort to get closer to their world. The Kemetic method of ablution cleanses the body and spirit in the names of not only the original ancestral deities, but also the four elements, fire, air, wind, and earth, which in reality are deities that are to be called upon by their names in the same manner.
Okay, well, maintain the purity of the body, mind, and spirit. So I think the key thing there is to maintain it. Because, you know, you might get to a part where you're clean. But to maintain the cleanliness, you know, if we even start with even if you purify the body, you know, we know that when we do our ablutions, for example, we can't touch someone who hasn't cleaned themselves. So just in a slight touch, you have to go back and purify yourself again, you know. So, but, you know, we can apply that to the mind, you know, just your thought can make you unclean. Because if you think a thought that is evil to your brother or sister, if you think of something wicked, you've already polluted yourself. So it's to be that vigilant that you can be aware and be tracking your thoughts, that you don't allow those thoughts. And initially, if you have not been able to check yourself at that level, the thoughts will just come in until you are able to stop the thoughts from coming in. And then you can actually see the thought and think, you're not coming near me. No, I'm not going to think that. So they won't even come near you again. Because the human being is like a magnet. You will attract certain things to you. And it also depends on your heart. What do you keep in your heart? Those are the things as a human being. When you want to raise your qualities, you need to make sure that you are constantly being vigilant. One of the things before we come into the Earth Center, they tell us that if there is anyone that you have had up in your heart, who you have had issues with before you come into the Earth Center, deal with that first before you don't come into the Earth Center and bring that in. So it's awakening you to awaken your own self to begin the cleansing process. And the key word is to maintain it. Because you can get to a certain level and you think you're there, and then the next moment you're gone, you've lost it. You know, and that's all part of the road, trying to walk this road of purity, trying to walk the road of divine, because there's always going to be something, just like we were speaking at the beginning, all of these distractions, all of this, you can go here, you can't go there, you can do this, you can't do this, everything around you, everything is there to distract you. So how do you stand in this time? And that's why we said we give thanks for the Earth Center, because at least it gives us a focus so we can still focus on our spirituality. It gives you that solid ground to hold you firm in these raging waters. And my fear is it's only just begun. You know, this ain't gonna go away anytime soon, you know? Yeah. Yes.
Add something
please do.
That. One of the most important things for me when I came into initiation was understanding that without having that spiritual purity, like that was the prerequisite for any spiritual activity. Because before that, I just kind of thought you could just pray and that's it. It's like, no, you have to take yourself up to that level. You can't just assume that a God will come and, hey, what do you need today? It doesn't work that way. You have to try and raise yourself to that level. And again, continue to maintain that. And as initiates, we do it twice a day, but we could eat even more if we want to. And again, that helps you to continue to raise yourself and raise your qualities as well.
And when you're in that Zemzem, and when you're in that, you're using that time to focus on the spiritual realm, which means there's less time to focus on other things. You're strengthening your spirit, you're strengthening your mind, you're strengthening your focus in that realm. So the more you do it, is the more you're strengthening yourself, you're armoring yourself against what's out there. So as you said, when you purify yourself, just like if you was going to meet, like we said, some dignitary, you wouldn't go and meet them in any shabby clothes and don't bathe. A human dignitary, you're going to, make sure that you cleanse yourself and you put on your nice clothes and you go and meet that human dignitary. Well, if you know that you are seeking to stand before the divine world when you go to your prayer, then how much more do you want to prepare yourself to stand before the divine? That's what you said you're going to do, right? If you're going to pray, you're going to pray to God. Who are you going to pray to? Your God. So if you truly know that it's a God that you want to go and pray before, how will you present yourself before your God? Maintain the purity of the body, mind, and spirit. Yes.
And just on that note, if you're interested in learning about the purifications, there is the book of purifications available from earthcenter.org or earthcenteruk.com as well.
That's right. Thank you, Jodie. So are we going to...
We are going to the music.
Okay.
So we now have a song by Chronix called Same Prayer.
Now you're being it harder. Ooh yeah. Just carry me through everything. I have no fear for anything. Jah gave me all the strength I need to make it through this world I was born in. Rastafari is my peace of mind. Jah, thank you for your love and kindness, for every drop of air I breathe, and for waking me up this morning. And when I'm traveling in the streets today, please, Jah, never leave my side. And every day the same prayer I say, I'm saying it to one more time. Yeah, traveling in the streets I pray. Jah, beg you please, never left I and I. Oh, never leave I and I. Rastafari, in my eyes I can see all the possible things people could be. Jah, be my guide, cause I can only protect my flesh. But people wear disguises, help me realize. Teach me love unconditionally. Can't go around preying everybody. The closest of friends will deceive you badly. I learned that Rastafari is my family. So when I eventually. I'm going out and I'm coming in. Please watch over I. Protect my family when I no localize. When chatting through these streets, keep my focus right, no oversight. A battlefield, this life is so much light. But with you as my guide and shield, any pain I man feel, time will heal. It's a joy to know it's sign and seal. Confident in the victory. Anytime you see the natty trotting in the streets today.
Please, God, I'll never leave my side. And every day the same prayer I say, and I'm saying it to one more time. When I'm trotting in the streets I pray, Jaja never left I and oh Jaja please.
Yes, that's our brother Chronics featuring Kabaka Pyramid. Same prayer. Okay, so we're gonna continue with our 10 requirements of being a Ken. The next one, number 4.
Apply the
Yes.
Apply the 77
That's
commandments.
right. Apply the 77 commandments. So, first of all, if there's any initiates out there, text in your commandment which you either really love, find it a struggle, but just text in a commandment for us because we know there's 77. So let's get interactive with our initiates first. 77 commandments, and we know that to live those 77 commandments is not easy. But which one of those commandments are one of the ones? And it doesn't have to be an initiate because we know there's people out there who's bought the 77 commandments. So if you've out there got the 77 commandments, do share with us. You can text us on 079-444-31366. That's 079-444-31366. Which commandment have you found most challenging, or which is the one that, okay, this one here, like for me, thou shalt not be impatient. Thou shalt not be impatient. OMG, thou shalt not be impatient. Oh my gosh, it's a commandment, so that just made me had to stop. That one gets me every time, Thou shalt not be angry. Oh my gosh, so that even being angry, because why? If you think about it, first of all, 77, so there's so many. So again, if you know the 77 commandments and you've got any commandment that particularly you find particularly challenging, please text us and let us know. 079-444-31366. Get interactive. Thou shalt not be impatient. Why is that one so crucial for me? Well, Jody, you said that one, so let's I said that, so did you, and I'll
so
go to thou shalt not get
mainly
angry.
It's a work thing with that one. I work with children, and I find that just some days I'm having to explain myself 5, 6, 7, 9, 20 times, and it's the same question. I'm like, why don't you get this? And then you start to get impatient. You're losing the patience, and you start to get angry, and it's kind of like, okay, I gotta draw myself back in and not go down on this path. That's the main thing. And also sometimes when I'm driving and there's other drivers in front and you got somewhere to get to in a particular time and they're driving slow and you're like, come on, it's those reasons. Other times I'm fine.
And as a human being, and this is the thing, the human being, we have our weaknesses, and these energies that we pick up, that we exude, they actually bringing negative forces actually which carry you down, and it actually can stop you from seeing things and moving forward. So for me, thou shalt not be impatient, actually having patience and then maybe just listening more. You yourself may learn more, or I myself would learn more if I just stopped and listened, because sometimes the impatience is just about you and yourself not being able to either calm yourself in a situation. It might be about your emotions. So it's really important to be able to challenge your own self and then get the better of yourself, because one thing we do say in the initiation is to make sure that you are controlling your emotions. Don't let your emotion get the better of you, because bent will ride you until you drop. So we want to make sure that we are controlling those emotions. 079-444-31366. If there's any of you out there who do have the 77, what commandment challenges you? So that is number 4. Apply the 77 commandments. And the thing is, there are so many commandments, to apply 77 of them is very challenging, but it gives you a roadmap. It gives you something to come back to. There's just so much. Thou shalt not cause crying. Thou shalt not make scornful signs. Somebody cut you up on the road and you want to show him a finger or two. Even that. Kasati, thou shalt not be the cause of anger or hot tempers. Duao. So yes, Duao Kasati. So where you talk about you getting angry, but actually you causing other people to get angry.
Definitely.
You being the cause of someone's anger. Yeah. And these things are so key, because if we're really talking about living the life of a Kem, it's challenging. So we're not saying, and we did want to get, next time we will get some of the new initiates who have actually just come in, so that they can even begin to tell you the beginning of the journey, how it is for them. Yeah, but we're not saying that this journey is easy, but if you take yourself seriously and you truly want to raise your quality, and you will see, and those around you will see the difference. How was it for you, Jodie, when you first came in? Did people around you begin to see that there were differences?
Yeah, I think even now, some of my family members are still adjusting to those changes as well. Of my friends, so they're like, okay, there's something different about you, but I can't quite put my finger on what it is. They just know that I'm just not the same anymore, which is interesting.
Yeah, and there is so much power in it. What is perceived as power in the outside world, you realize it's just weak people trying to look powerful because they don't have the power within. That's why they have to keep trying to control. Why do you have to control everybody around you? Because they can't control themselves. That's your biggest challenge, because the day you leave this earth, it's going to be you, yourself, and you going through. No matter how many people go at the same time, you go through that door alone. They cannot control themselves, so they seek to control others. You're listening to the Wisdom of the Nile show on Blessed Radio, 07944431366, and we're going to have our guest speaker soon, who's going to be sharing a lot with us. So we are going to continue with our 10 requirements, and we're going to go through so the next one, 5, we did say perform the spiritual daily activities, or to perform the daily spiritual activities, which is doing the Zemzem. keeping yourself, and there you would do the ablutions and the Zemzem. So that's number 5, performing those daily. Keeping yourself as pure as you can, keeping your thoughts, I find, the spiritual activities is best to do in the morning, because then you set the foundation for the day. Yes. You're strong, you block off any negative energy that's going to come, you set your day, 6, listen, accept, and obey the words of God's. And again, we can link that back to the 77. For when Tahuti did go to the world of the gods on the instructions of Rusa, and again, if you want to know the full story, we will be having talks back at the London Temple soon when things opening up. But of course, you can also go onto the Earth Centre, and Jody will give you the details. Wherever you are in the world, across the different countries, we do have Earth Centres in here in London, in Coventry, in Canada, Montreal, and Montreal, and I'll remember the other one. But we've got 2 Toronto. In Toronto, we've got schools across the US. We have a online initiation happening right now. So those whose countries we've not been able to physically set up an Earth Centre school, actually have now been able to come online. So we have initiates across the world now, taking place on the online classes. Of course, we've got schools in Merita, Burkina Faso. So, for those who want to learn more about the initiation, learn more, and I was saying that because Tahuti, if you wanted to know more about Tahuti and about the 77, where he went to the other deities, the other gods, and he collected the 77 commandments to give back to our ancestors, so that we had a roadmap to walk towards the divine, because that's what our ancestors said. They said, we want to be like you. And the God said, you're going to need some help. If you want to be like us, you're going to need some help. And so these divine ordinances were given, the code of human behavior. And you look in any religion, any spiritual organization, anything, they will always have some list, something of the do's and the don'ts. So that's number 5. And number 6, that was listen, accept, and obey the words of God. Number 7, all can people protect, honor, and respect each other. I mean, human beings should be doing that anyway.
It's quite self-explanatory.
Yeah, but I'm saying, as Chem, we definitely, people who are walking the words of the divine, we certainly should be doing that. But if human beings were doing this, we would not be in the position we are now.
Yeah.
Respect, but it's about respecting yourself. All can people protect, honor, and respect each other. Number 7. And number 8, it is an absolute obligation for a Chem to perform charitable acts towards Chem people. As people of just human beings, just people, that act of kindness, of charity, of looking out for one another. Someone was talking about in a village in Africa, they have an instance where if it's known that there is a family who's hungry or there's something that they particularly need, when they go to bed at night, someone will come and bring what it is then, whether it's money, whether it was food, they'll come and they'll put it at their front door. But they won't say who it is. And then when the person opens the door, and that's a part of that community's way of how you do things, they will see this thing, and the next day when they walk on the street, everyone they will look to, and in their heart they will be thankful to everyone, because they don't know who did it. It could have been anybody. And this is how you live as a community, and how we should really be living and caring and giving to our one another. Okay, we're going to continue with the 77, with the 10. Provide an annual offering to the temple. So one of the things that we do as Kem is to, one thing that initiates do, is each year send an offering, and you know, when we're doing in our schools, we will bring in, as well as incense, we will bring in, you know, an offering, a small offering, if you choose to. You don't have to. And then that's taken down to MEZNEBSATI, and that's given to the temple, and the temples use that money to help other people in the community. So that's temple money that goes to help people in the community who may be in need. So that doesn't go, you know, and using it, it's for others. But then we also, as initiates, you know, we also do give to get spiritual work done at least once a year. And then the last requirement of a Kem, number 10, is to go on an annual pilgrimage to MEZNEBSATI. And in MEZNEBSATI right now, we still have initiates there who are on pilgrimage. So some are returning home now. So but us in the UK who have been locked down, you know, we had some initiates here in the UK who wanted to make their journey down to MEZNEBSATI, have not been able to go as yet, but hopefully down in the year they may be able to go. I know at least one or two are planning to escape to escape the UK and get to MEZNEBSATI. But you know, for those who have been down, I think Kasati and Nehipsa had one of the initiates, I think, who was on the pilgrimage last week. I think they did, you know, and again sharing some of the and we've seen the pictures, some of that wonderful experience that's been happening down there, you know. So other people are just getting on with their lives, you know. So let's play music. Jody, who are we gonna have? Jody's just smiling away. I know. I saw you kind of zone out there. I'm like, where are you? You were in MEZNEBSATI, you lucky girl. Yeah, I think somewhere in Lomé, which is in Togo, somewhere in Burkina Faso. Oh, yeah, I know. Oh, really looking forward to be going over there. But yes, what's our next track before our speaker comes in and we close off for tonight?
It's by Skip Marley and it is called Higher Place.
It's something higher. I mean, it's not what we are dealing with, the reality of what's going to happen. It's something higher than man's own personal little vexation and pride self. This is something where no man can stop, because all nation are going to gather and all nation are going to say yes, I'm right. And some plenty will die, you know. But there is people who would want it and no sense for everyone. Which is the right to live, you know, which when you check the right to live is to have the right vibe comes from Rasta.
Oh, I'm lost, I need a map. Oh, I slip, get back on track. See the future, clear your path, 'cause we go forward, never back. Little weary boy, don't run out. Listen to the voice in your heart. I gotta face up, no hesitation. It's a vibration, ready with my arms up. Take me to the higher place. I gotta roll to the higher stage. There's nowhere else to go. Light the way, pack it up and roll. I'm on my way. Take me to a higher place. I gotta roll to a higher plane. There's nowhere else to go. Light the way, pack it up and roll. I'm on my way. How much longer can we play? Man, they've run and gone astray. There won't be another day if you don't decide to make a way. Little weary boy, don't run out. Listen to the voice in your heart. I gotta face up, no hesitation. It's a vibration, ready with my arms up. Take me to the higher place. I gotta roll to the higher stage. There's nowhere else to go. Light the way, pack it up and roll. I'm on my way. Take me to a higher place. I gotta roll to a higher plane. There's nowhere else to go. Light the way, pack it up and roll. I'm on my way.
It's something higher. I mean, it's not what we are dealing with, the reality of what's going to happen. It's something higher than man, one personality.
Ujai, and welcome back. That was our brother Skip Marley. Higher place. Welcome back to the Wisdom of the Nile show, Bless Radio, with me, Fahkara, and
Jody.
And on the phone line now, we should have with us our dear, beloved Senu brother, Bouabti Fahkara, who is also the overseer for the UK. So let's just see if we can get Bouabti up online. Ujai Bouabti.
Ujai.
Oh yeah, we got him. Ujai, how are you doing, my brother?
I'm doing good.
Good. It's wonderful to have you with us on the Wisdom of the Nile show. We have been looking at the 10 requirements of being a chem, and we know that these are some requirements that we live by, and that we, oftentimes, because we've seen sometimes when we're, and as humans in life, sometimes, the initiate might step out here, or, may forget that they're supposed to show respect to each other. We might have to come back and draw the handbook, or draw the 10 requirements of being a chem, or, the 77, there might be an aspect of that. But tell me, in terms of the 10 requirements of being a chem, I mean, I know we need to acknowledge, all of these. And for me, I can't say one over there, or maybe I can, because I love the honoring of the ancestors. That's really given me a closeness. So, share your thoughts with me in terms of the 10 requirements, or your thoughts, anything around that. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, the first 2 commandments is relating to our ancestors and the divine world. And it is because of where we are as human beings now. We don't validate, especially African people now. We have given up on our ancestors, and we have given up on the divine world. And we have followed some sort of religious practice which have nothing to do with tradition, with who we are or where we're coming from. And that's why we are in such a mess at the moment, because we don't validate our, and as you were saying earlier on, everybody else is in reverence of their ancestors, in reverence of their past. But we are running away from our past and hiding. We don't want to be known or seen for who we are, or where we are coming from, or where we need to go. And because of that, then we end up in pure confusion, where we are following the gods of nothingness. We are following religious ideology that is coming from man. The good thing about the Earth Center, and the good thing about the Kemetic society, Kemetic people, or Kem people, is that they still feel the necessity to still be in touch with the gods, still get whatever they need to do. It has to come from a spiritual point of view. They do divination, they talk to the earth, they talk to all other lettery, deities. They speak to everything before they make an informed choice as what to do or where to go. But we as modern African descendants, we don't know a lot of these things, and we don't practice a lot of these things because we are so good in believing in the religious doctrine now that we are at the forefront. So we have given up our home, we are giving up our land, we are giving up everything that we truly should be respecting. And every race of people is running towards Africa now and taking over. The Chinese, the Indian, wherever you name it, everybody is running to Africa because they know the whole Africa is sustaining the whole world. But they'll give you the impression and the idea, and we believe it wholesale, that Africa is a burden to the world, and they have to be fed, they have to be clothed in second-hand clothes, they have to be taught because we are savages, we are not human beings. Which other country or continent on this planet that other people has gone and take the whole continent and divide it as how they feel it should go, and they still continue doing that? I know the indigenous people lost Australia and they lost America and they lost Canada and many other places. But if we're talking about the 77 commandments, then who is really following the 77 commandments nowadays? Very few people, because we were told that is only 10 commandments that we need. And some of those 10 commandments are what man has fabricated in their own imagination. Everything about Chem life, Chem society, the Earth Center, all of these things is coming from the gods. It's not coming from man. So we know when man put his hands and his mind into things, with his limited knowledge, and as we say, human being haven't got the ability to actually create nothing. We are good at copying, and we make bad copy also. Something work because there's some divine essence in what we're doing, because we're divine beings. And therefore, because we're divine beings, then the energy, the harmony, the balance that is of the earth and of this planet and the whole universe, we are a part of it. So those energies is going to vibrate and rotate and radiate in every part of our being. So the only requirement of a Chem is about how a human being should live with dignity. And it is not about really something that is great to do. Because as a normal, everyday human being, these are the things that you should be doing naturally. Because these are the things that come natural. Anything else outside of these is something that is not natural. But in order for you to really put this into focus and really understand the importance of it, living in England, living in London, living where is big city, where everybody is just fighting the material world or living the material world. And the material world dominates because this is the territory I've been. And because the material world dominates so much, and everybody feel that they need to get a share of this pie, that's why we are scrambling and continually fighting to get bigger, better, bigger, better, bigger, better all the time. But there's bigger. What we're looking at is bigger or better. How does that fit in with the value of a chem? How does that fit in with you as a human being? How does that fit in with you and you as your life on earth? How does that fit in with the role of your ancestors, where your ancestors, the destiny, the reason why you're here? Because most of us forget the purpose of our existence, of why we're here. And we continually do things that we think is beneficial just to us. If you can see by the life, the values and the life of a chem, it is incorporate every human being to live in a certain way, to adhere to certain rules, certain principles, certain law, do things for others, not just do things for yourself. But the modern society, the modern system is all about you, yourself, not even your family. Because we know that in every family, the only drama is being played and played out. So we have to understand that, in order for us to move forward, it is goal that we have to look at is that we need to be a better individual. Because if each one of us would just start believing in ourselves, accepting ourselves who we are, learning about our roots, our foundation, and understand that a tree cannot grow without roots. And if we are thinking about growing, then we can't just cut off the roots and just hold on to the trunk and the branches and think that is growth. Because something said is new and it's modern, it doesn't mean that it's good with what the divine and what our ancestors have in mind for us. So we have to understand that these things that we are running after is only taking us to self-destruction. And not just us, it's taking humanity to self-destruction because of our greed, because of the idea of caste, of race, of religion, of frustration, of mix-ups, of emotion. All of these things are jumbling up together that taking us away from the reality of what we are as a human being. And it's only when we stop and think, who am I? What is the true purpose of my existence? Why am I here? What do I need to do? How can I help humanity? How can I help my ancestors and they help me? Because this exchange of energy that is going on between us and our ancestors is necessary. There is no separation except the physicality between the living and the dead. There is no exception between us and the looking at life in a way that we can understand that the non-physical part of life is far greater than the physical part of life. We are just a spirit manifesting in a physical body to understand, to know, to grow the reality in this reality. But in reality, we are not getting the message. It's like we miss the MO and we are going around and around in circle. And the worst thing is we are following the blind. It's like people who have sight and allowing a blind man to be their teacher, be their leader. be the person they go to when they want to have wisdom and knowledge, when they have it within themselves already. Each human being that come to this earth come fully equipped. You come with a physical body, you come with a spiritual body, and you have connection to the earth, to every element that we call our create life. And it's only when you go to MERITA that you can start understanding some of these things. And everybody know that the energy in MERITA is superior to most places on the earth. And that energy is what everybody is trying to grab. But it's not something that you can take. It has to be something that manifests in you. So knowledge is good, but we need more than just knowledge to understand where we need to go. We need a connection with everything that exists, what we know and what we do not know, what we understand and what we don't understand, what we see and what we don't see. Because we often talk about love, or we love somebody, or we love this, and how much people ever see love? Can you see love? You can see the behavior of somebody who you believe is in love, or love somebody by their actions. But you can't actually see love. You can't see pain. You can feel pain. There's so much more to the reality of not in the physical body. And that is the road that our ancestors chart. They know what happened when you die, and all the ramifications of life and death from the age of 0 or even before that, right until the day you die, and what happened, and you come back to earth again. So when you are in MERITA, you have the opportunity to see how people live with dignity and respect. You see, by living in the wilderness, in the mountains, how you connect with the elements, how people connect with nature, and how important it is to live outside of the city, not to be polluted by light, not to be polluted by sound, not to be polluted by so much pain and suffering of humanity around you. Those are the things that is necessary for us to understand how we should live, what we should do in our daily life, and the respect for the physical body when it's alive, and the respect for the body when it's dead. Those are the things that is important for us as human beings.
Okay, so what would you say to the person that says, well, all of these ancestors and gods and respect, look, it's my life. I just want to live my life. Do you know what I mean? I want to do what I want to just enjoy what I want to do. I want to feel what I want to feel. I want to do what I do. Look, these are times when people can do anything they want. You know what I mean? Well, what's all of this you lot are talking about? Look, this is a times you can do anything. You can be anything, you can do anything. You know what I mean? We don't have no restrictions. We don't need no restrictions. What about the person who's saying that? Because that's what's being put out to our young people, to people out there. What would you say to someone like that?
This is very easy, because what is it that you're trying to attain by this liberation that you feel that you need and have?
Nothing.
If you don't know, if you don't know your foundation, or where you're coming from, or where you need to go, the difference is in MERITA, when a child is born, they know which ancestor is coming back. They know the destiny. They know the road that you're supposed to travel, and they enable you. They help you to walk the path that you're supposed to walk. So we have this idea that freedom is a must. And liberation is a must. But do we understand how much part of our body is really ours? what we think is our mind. Is it our mind, or is it somebody or something else that is inspiring us, that is giving us idea, that is pushing us to feel this way? Is it because of the lifestyle of laziness, the lack of desire, the lack of knowledge, the lack of proper advice and counsel from the time you were young? Is it that you're mixing with a group of worthless people and you just want to be worthless like them? All of those things, all of those things you have to have a person who can spend a minute in self-reflection of thinking, what is going on in my life? Where is it that I need to go? Why I'm not doing the things feeling? Because sometimes people, and especially spiritual people, Kemetic people, African descendant people, we get so confused of what we are doing, and we get confused and don't know what to do. We think we have so much choice. We think we have so much time. And then we realize as we are getting older, it's like the clock is spinning so fast that all the things that you think that you could have done, and you have so much time, you realize you have very little time. And therefore you can't achieve the things, that you won't achieve what you want to achieve. Because it wasn't about you in the first place. And because you think your life is about you, that is where we come into problem. Your life is not about you. It's about your ancestor. It's about where you fit in with your ancestor, where you fit in with the role of what the earth requires from you, the permission that you have to live on earth, that you don't even know that you live, that you had permission before you can step on the earth. You don't understand that every night you go to bed, and in the morning you wake up and your heart is working, your brain is working, you can walk, you can talk, and all of those things, you can breathe, is being done automatically. So where is it that you have the freedom? Ask yourself, all right, if you want this freedom so much, then say to yourself, I don't want my body to breathe for me. I'm going to do it myself. I don't want my heart to work for me. I'm going to work it myself. And see how far you'd get with that. Because that would be a nonsensical attitude and a way of thinking as a human being.
You know, in certain circles now, they're talking about AI, that humans and AI have to integrate now, and that, you know, we're getting to the stage where human beings are going to have to integrate with AI, so artificial intelligence, and that you're going to get like a cyborg. That's where, you know, a lot of people are in certain fields anyway are really looking to go. And what they're saying is they want to extend their life using artificial intelligence, you know. And they're seriously saying that the next level of humanity has to be integrated into AI. And I mean, these are people who run the world and have money. So we're not talking about, you know, the man on the street here. We're talking about people who, you know, have the power to make this happen. What would you say to that?
Well, what I would say to that is that it is, once you do that, you are no longer a human being. That's one thing you have to understand. You become something else. The reality, the human being is constructed, built, or however way you want to fabricate it, the way the divine has fashioned your body, your spirit, every part of your being is already capable of. It's like I give somebody a really powerful racing car, and they don't even understand how the car works at the moment, but they want to tamper with what's under the bonnet and change it so it can go even faster. without knowing that there's a consequence to everything we do. So the people who are rushing forward with that, good luck to them. I know one reality for me. I don't know about anybody else. But for me, the reality is that I will live and I will die. And that is sufficient for me. And I will come back again. I don't want to be a part of this modern technology that is going so far. Many do want, because, foolish people, I may call them educated fools, because they just accept everything because they think the system is right in everything that they say. They say modern science is right, everything is right, but you see every day in front of your eyes, modern science don't really know. And they change the goalposts every minute. What they say this week, I can guarantee you they're going to come with a different idea, different way next week. And every week, every year, every month, they continually change it. Why go away from what is and is working properly to something that you don't know how it's going to work and what catastrophe you might bring, without even bother to spend the time and the little intelligence or knowledge that you have to work and try and be in harmony with what is there already? Can a human being have this idea? No, they have this idea. One of the big ideas that they've been working on for a few years now is they're trying to create a sun. The sun that we have is not good enough, so man want to create a sun so they can have enough energy. Now, what humanity don't know, the 4 elements that is of the earth can give us far more energy than we can ever use. We have energy in the water, we have energy in the sun, we have energy in the air, and we have energy in the earth. All of those things can give us what we need. But because of our own curiosity, and one of the things is that we continue to hear the story about saying to somebody, don't do that, make them curious. When the gods created us, one of the things they did, they give us the ability to emulate them. And because we are trying to emulate them, but if you are sensible and you want to emulate the God, would it be simple if you get advice from the gods themselves? Because you still can as a human being. And it's only when we are taking advice from all the celestial body, from the planets, from the earth, and from the gods, the divine. That's the only time that we are going to be able to create something of value, something of use, something that is going to prosper or enrich human life.
Thank you, Bouabti. I think that was well said. Yeah, I threw a curveball at you there, but yeah, I think that was well said, and it fits in with where we say we've got to fit in. We came here and found everything here, and it's about us fitting in. But yeah, these ones still don't understand, the higher side of life.
They don't want to understand. They don't understand because there's an arrogance in them that think that if I go to school and study and learn physics and maths and science and all of these things, then I am now a god. I can create, and I am not going to be held back. I have to create. But what is it that is? You tell me, all the creation of man, how many of them that we can say is something that is really benefiting humanity?
That's it. That's it. Most of the things are for the few, and then the many work for the few, and we see what's happened happen there, you know. Even when you work for the few, the money that you get, it still goes back into paying the mortgage, to paying this, paying that, paying your road tax. It still goes straight back to the system, you know. It's just this hamster wheel, you know. So yeah,
we are worse now than in the old days when you have a rich landlord and he had land and he had what they call Thai cottage, where everybody work for him and they live on his land, and the wages was low, but they had somewhere to live and all of that. We are in a worse position now more than then, because now they're talking about the amount of billionaires and millionaires are growing, and yet still the ordinary person, imagine humanity, where there's so much people starving in the world, don't have food, don't have water, and you can have a house in every capital of the world. You can have billions, not millions, billions in banks and assets around the world, and you don't feel that you have the opportunity or the will to share what you have, which I incidentally, everything that a human being have come from the earth. You didn't born today and born with anything, and even if it come from your parents, it came from the earth. So why wouldn't you be happy to share what you get from the earth with the people of the earth?
Yeah. Okay, Bouabti, I want to say, Dua, I'm going to give you a minute or two to just, any last thoughts that you would like to share with our listeners, because we've kind of gone right over time. But, you know, as usual, we like to listen to your wisdom and wise mind.
All I'd like to say is that if you have the opportunity, try and go to America. Try and go and see and live with the indigenous people. And go and see our Master NABA, Lamusa Merendevic. Go and see his home, where he come from. See his tomb, see his grave. And see the simplicity and the harmony that these people are living in. And you will be very surprised to see how people come from such humble beginnings, have such powerful wisdom and knowledge that they've been carrying around for centuries. And that's all I'll have to say.
Bouabti, I want to say Dua Isa for sharing your wisdom, wise mind with us tonight, and your words. I know the listeners would have gleaned a lot from that. Jody?
I certainly did.
Yes, definitely. So Dua Bouabti, and we do look forward to having you again on the Wisdom of the Nile show. Iriru. And yeah, I just want to echo what, Bouabti said in terms of where NABA and the Dagomba people from Tambiga, where they come from, and if you do see the simplicity of the place, but they understand what it means to really share. They understand about community, and and he understood that the world needed this knowledge, and so he came out and he shared it with his brothers and sisters. He didn't just keep it for himself, but he passed that knowledge on, and we say dua for that. So we're going to say good night now, because we've gone over time, but we want to say thank you for being with us this evening. But before we do, Jody is just going to share with you some contacts for the school if you want to contact us, and some contacts for the school and any upcoming events that might be happening. Thank you.
So we do have a couple of events coming up this month. There's actually one tomorrow. It's an online event called Living in a Cultureless Society, and that is by the Earth Centre Coventry, and that is on Zoom. So I read the contact details now for each temple, and if you're interested in attending the discussion tomorrow night, it's at 7 p.m. For the details for the London temple, so the telephone number is 0208 558 3678. The Coventry temple, the phone number is 024 7626 6859 or 073 0599 5944. Now, email address is enquiries-uk@theearthcentre.org, and the website for the UK temples is www.theearthcentre, and centre is spelled CENTER UK.com, or www.theearthcentre.org. We are also on Instagram at the Earth Centre of UK and at KEBTAH, that's KEBTAH. And our Facebook for the Earth Centre UK is the Earth Centre of UK. The main Earth Centre web page or Facebook page is the Earth Centre, and the Earth Centre Coventry is where you can find the information about tomorrow night's event, which is called Living in a Cultureless Society.
Okay, so we want to say dwell for tuning in with us again this week, and see you again at the next show in 2 weeks' time.
Hiri hiri.
Hiri hiri. No, that's not what we want to leave out with. We want to leave out with hiri hiri.
This song goes in the memory of the beloved prophet NABA Musa Murden Big, the Dogon Prince, Mahir, the true teller, Bisina Basa, which means I'll be appreciated after I'm gone. He's the man who overcomes the devils with love. He's the man who speaks because he has something to say. The man of wisdom, the definition of humanity. Mahir, Mahir, Mahir. From far away, from far away, far away, from far away, Shafiq, from far away, Prophet Naba, far away, Musa, far away, Nabi, far away, from far away, Prophet Naba, far away, from far away, from far away, Prophet, far away. He's the man of wisdom. He's the man who lived by faith, and not by fear. His greatest wealth is the richness of his soul. He's the man who lived by faith and not by fear. He's the double-edged sword. He's the double-edged sword. He's the key to unlock the treachery. Follow truth and you shall find him. He's the definition of humanity. He's the beginning and the end. He's the prophet Naba. Far away, from far away, far away, from far away, Shafiq, from far away, Prophet Naba, far away, Musa, far away, Nabi, far away, Prophet, from far away, Prophet Naba, far away, from far away, from far away, Prophet, far away. Bob Marley say, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our pride? prophet. While we stand aside and look. Some say it's just a part of it. We got food for the boy. Come to my head. Come to my head. Come to my head. You got your own told story. Far away, I'm from far away.